Rian stood near the main control tower of Mars Colony 12. The red dust blew around his boots, and the evening sun cast a soft orange light on the metal buildings. He was an engineer, quiet, smart, and always careful. People liked him, though. He didn't speak much. His wife, Mira, worked in the colony's medical unit. Together, they had lived a peaceful life for 5 years. That day started like any other. Rian woke early, had breakfast with Mira, and went to the workshop. He was fixing the power relay system when a loud alarm rang across the colony. Security. Breach detected in the tech vault. The message blared. Rian paused, confused. The tech vault was a high-security area where important research files were stored. He had no access to that place. But just minutes later, security officers entered the workshop. "Rian, you are under arrest for stealing classified data," said the lead officer. "What?" "No, I don't even have clearance for that area," Rian replied, shocked. They didn't. "Listen." They placed a band around his wrists and led him outside. Mira ran toward him, her eyes wide with fear. "I didn't do anything," Rian whispered to her. "I know," she said, holding his hand tightly. "I'll wait for you. I promise." But promises don't stop time. The next week, Rian was taken to the underground prison isolation Sector 7, deep below the colony. The trial was short. The evidence was strange. Camera footage showing Rian near the tech vault, data logs with his ID, and a fingerprint on the control panel. He knew it was fake. Someone had set him up. The prison cell was cold and dark. The walls were steel, and there was no window. Only a dim blue light glowed above his bed. A small screen showed the time and date. That was the only connection he had with the world above. He was given food once a day through a slot in the door. He was allowed outside for 10 minutes every week, just to walk in a small yard, with a ceiling so high he could barely see it at. First, Rian felt lost. He thought about Myra every hour. He remembered their long walks, her warm smile, and the way she called him, "my quiet star." But weeks turned into months. The colony moved on. News stopped coming. Rian started to change. He spent his time reading the old manuals stored in the prison system. They were boring at first, wiring diagrams, AI code, mechanical designs, but slowly he started learning more. He had nothing else to do, so he memorized everything. Then, one day, he noticed something strange. While cleaning the floor, he found a loose panel under the bed. Behind it, there were old wires and a broken access port. It looked like the prison used to have an internal maintenance AI, but it had been shut down. Rian smiled for the first time in months. "If I can bring this system back," he whispered to himself, "maybe I can see what's happening up there." He worked every night after lights out. He used the small tools hidden in his boot, nothing sharp, just screwdrivers and circuit testers. Slowly, carefully, he reconnected the wires. He rerouted power from the light above his bed and sent it into the port. After weeks of quiet work, the screen lit up. Maintenance SI system low functionality mode. It was working. The AI was weak. It had lost most of its memory, and it couldn't access the colony directly. But it could still connect to the old observation cameras. "Show me surface feed," Rian typed. The screen flickered. A blurry image appeared, people walking outside. The medbay, drones flying overhead, and familiar buildings glowing in the Martian dusk. He watched in silence. He watched every day 10 minutes at a time, so the prison system wouldn't notice. He saw Mira walking alone. Then one day, he saw her with someone else. A tall officer wearing a security badge. Rian's heart felt heavy. The man laughed with Myra. She smiled back. He turned off the screen. He didn't cry. He didn't shout. He just sat there in the blue light, thinking. The next morning, he started drawing plans. He used food wrappers, dirt, and a sharp piece of plastic to sketch on the wall. He wasn't planning revenge. He wasn't planning escape. He was planning something better. Rian began building. He used broken pieces from the floor panels, spare wires from inside the wall, and parts from his old food tray. Every piece was cleaned, shaped, and hidden again. He built a small power core, a simple controller, and a basic arm, a mechanical arm, strong enough to lift steel. It was slow work, quiet work, but day by day, the idea grew. He wasn't just an engineer anymore. He was becoming something else. Something stronger. 10 months passed, then a year, then 2. Rian still had many years to serve, but he didn't care. He had time. He had knowledge. And now he had purpose. In the silence of the prison, beneath the red soil of Mars, a forgotten man was building the future, and above him, the world thought he was gone forever. They were wrong. The underground cell was no longer just a prison. It had become a workshop, a lab, and a quiet battlefield. Rian stood beside the tall figure of his creation Vox, the mechanical suit he had built with nothing but scrap, knowledge, and patience. It was not perfect. The body was patched with old mining steel. The joints were powered by simple pressure coils. The power core was only strong enough for 15 minutes. But to Rian, it was more than a machine. It was hope. He tested the arm again. The suit's right arm lifted the metal bench with ease. The fingers, rough and strong, tightened gently without crushing it. The leg servos hissed quietly as they balanced the weight. Still stable, he whispered. His plan was almost ready. But escaping wasn't enough. He needed to clear his name. He needed to show the colony what Daryl had done. Without proof, they would call him a traitor again. So he focused on the feed system. The old prison AI couldn't send data directly. The colony network had firewalls, big ones. But Rian found a path, a maintenance cable that once connected to the surface. It was dead, but if he followed the tunnel, maybe he could reach the old satellite link in the waste sector. He had to be careful. One mistake and the security system would detect him. If that happened, the guards would come, and he wasn't ready to fight. That night, while the prison lights dimmed, Rian climbed through the floor panel and entered the narrow crawl space. He wore the suit, not fully powered, just enough to carry gear and tools. The walls were tight, the space barely wide. Enough. He crawled for an hour, moving slow, careful not to make noise. Then finally he found it, a round, rusted door. The sign was old. Maintenance path, level Z9. Behind that door, the path to the waste sector waited. Meanwhile, above ground, Daryl stood inside the tech vault. He stared at the data on his screen. Colony 12 system was strong, but someone had triggered a strange echo signal last week. Someone below. He frowned. Could it be? He turned off the screen and walked outside. His face was calm, but inside his mind, the pieces were moving fast. I need to move faster, he thought. Before someone finds out, Daryl walked straight to the colony's comm tower. He sent a short, encrypted message to someone off-world. Target may still be active. Proceeding with full wipe. Backup extraction in 5 days. Then he smiled. The next morning, Mira entered the medbay and saw Daryl waiting. "You're here early," she said. "I came to see you," he replied. "I wanted to ask if you'd have dinner with me." Outside, near the greenhouse dome, Mira looked surprised. She lowered her eyes. "I'm still thinking," she said softly. "Take your time," Daryl smiled. "But don't wait too long. The stars don't wait forever." Mira nodded, unsure of her heart. Back in the tunnels, Rian had reached the satellite cable. It was old, covered in dust and cracked wiring. But with enough work, he knew he could connect the prison AI and send a message. Just once. Just long enough to upload the hidden video files and sensor logs. He returned to his cell and made final adjustments to Vox. This time, when he opened the control screen, he saw something new. System ready. All parts stable. He took a deep breath. "Tomorrow," he said. Tomorrow I rise. That night, Rian couldn't sleep. Not because of fear, but because of something deeper. He thought of Myra. He remembered her voice, her laugh, the way she believed in him. Even now, after seeing her walk with Daryl, he couldn't hate her. She had waited. She had hoped. Maybe she had given up, but who wouldn't, after years of silence? She was lied to, he whispered. Just like me. He closed his eyes. Let the truth speak for itself. Morning came. Colony 12 began its day like usual: shuttle lifts, food delivery, oxygen checks. No one noticed the ground rumble softly far below. Then it happened. Boom. A loud sound echoed from the east side of the colony. Dust flew into the air. Emergency lights flashed. Underground breach detected. The alert rang. Guards rushed to the control center. Screens flickered. Alarms beeped. From the far tunnel, something emerged, tall, shining. Walking slowly through the steam. Vox. Inside the suit, Rian moved with care. Every step was heavy but controlled. He followed the maintenance path to the waste sector, carrying the I-core and data files. Guards spotted him. Halt! One shouted. Rian didn't stop. He raised one arm, but not to fight. The speakers clicked on. I don't wish to harm anyone, his voice echoed from the suit. I need access to the uplink. I have proof of a traitor. The guards hesitated. No one had seen anything like this. In the control room, Daryl's face went pale. He's alive, he said. He ran to the override system and pressed the shutdown command. Cut power to Sector Z9. But Rian had already switched Vox to full core mode. Power pulsed through the suit, blocking outside commands. In moments, he reached the satellite dish. He connected the drive. Upload sequence. Start. Inside the colony, screens lit up. Every terminal, every tablet. A video began to play. It showed Daryl in the tech vault. It showed him copying files, removing data logs, wiping records. It showed his Earth-CO memes. The colony froze. People watched in silence. Even Myra. Daryl ran through the hallway, trying to reach the vault. But a group of guards stood in his way now. They looked at him with cold eyes. Step back, officer, the lead one sighed. This is a mistake, Daryl shouted. He's tricking you. But they didn't listen. They had seen the truth. Back at the satellite tower, Rian finished the upload. He stood still, letting the dust settle. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just turned and walked back toward the desert path, away from the colony. Behind him, the people of Mars Colony 12 stood in shock, silence, and awe. The man they forgot had returned, not to destroy, but to reveal. The red sky of Mars was calm again, but inside Mars Colony 12, nothing felt normal. For 2 days, people spoke of only one thing: the man in the machine suit. The name Rian was on every worker's lips. Some whispered it with shock, others with guilt, and a few with pride. Everyone had seen the footage. It played again and again on every screen. Daryl stealing tech, lying to the system, and hiding behind authority. And the man who had revealed it all was someone they had left behind. Colony officials quickly arrested Daryl. He denied everything at first, but the proof was too strong. Logs, videos, security bypass codes. Rian had shown it all. His words were calm, his actions controlled. He had not harmed anyone. He had only wanted the truth to come out. Mira sat alone in her room, holding her old wedding band in her hands. She hadn't worn it in months. She thought Rian was gone forever. Now he was alive. Alive, strong, and watching the colony from afar. She didn't know what to feel. Sadness, regret, hope. She remembered the day he was taken, the fear in his eyes, the promise she made, I'll wait for you. But she didn't. She wiped her tears. Quietly. The rain felt heavier than ever. Meanwhile, far from the colony walls, Rian had found shelter in a collapsed mining outpost beyond the ridge. The building was old and half buried under dust. No one had used it in years, which made it perfect. He powered down Vox and sat beside the wall, staring at the fading sky. The message had been sent. Daryl had been caught. But Rian did not feel peace. He still had no place in the colony. They had forgotten him too easily. They had believed the lies too quickly. He wasn't angry, just clear in his mind now. The system was broken, and others might still be hiding behind it. Inside the broken outpost, Rian used old equipment to study colony news feeds. One small screen still worked. On it, he saw the governor of Colony 12 give a speech. "We are thankful to the man who brought the truth forward. Rian's actions showed great skill and courage. For this, we offer a full pardon and welcome him home." But Rian shook his head. They only care now because they were caught, he said to himself. He powered off the screen. That night, while repairing Vox's outer plates, Rian heard a sound outside. Soft footsteps. He stepped out carefully, ready for anything. But it wasn't a soldier. It was Mira. She stood under the soft light of Mars' second moon, her hair tied back, her hands empty, her eyes full of emotion. "I found you," she said. Rian stayed silent. She stepped closer. "I didn't know you were alive." I know what you thought," Rian said gently. "And I saw what happened." Mira looked down. "I didn't mean for it to go that way. I believed you at first. I tried to fight. But no one listened. And then time, it made me tired." Rian didn't answer. She stepped forward again. "You were right. Daryl fooled us all. Even me. I'm sorry." Still, Rian didn't speak for a moment. Then he asked, "Why are you here?" "I don't want anything from you," Mira said. "I just wanted to see you with my own eyes and tell you I was wrong to stop believing." The wind blew softly. Between them, Rian looked into her eyes. "I'm not the same man anymore. I know," she said. "But I had to say it." She turned slowly and began to walk away. "Mira," Rian called. She stopped. "Thank you for coming." She nodded and walked into the darkness. The next morning, Rian studied the colony map. The satellite uplink had revealed something else. There were more hidden agents like Daryl. Across the system, small colonies were being watched by a network of corporate spies. Some of them were collecting data. Others were controlling leadership from the shadows. And many good people had been jailed, silenced, or forgotten. Just like him. This is not only my story, Rian thought. There are others like me. He checked Vox's systems. It needed new energy cells and better armor. The core was still unstable after the long escape. If he wanted to go further, he would need help. So he sent a signal, short, simple, strong, to any outpost, colony, or worker who has been lied to, framed, or forgotten. "I see you. I was once like you. I am not part of the system anymore. I walk alone, but I don't hide. If you need help, I will come. Signed, Vox." The message spread across Mars, slowly hidden through minor radios, old tech boards, and worker groups. Some thought it was a joke, others, a myth, but a few knew it was real. Weeks passed. Rian repaired old solar towers. He fixed water filters for struggling towns. He stopped a small raid on a cargo route without violence, just by standing tall in his mech, silent and unshakable. The people began to call him the Iron Walker. He never asked for thanks. He never asked for payment. He just listened, helped, and moved on. Back in Colony 12, things had changed. Daryl was gone. The old leaders were replaced. People spoke more openly now. But something felt missing. One day, a young boy walked up to Mira in the med bay. He held a toy robot made from scrap. "Miss Mira," he asked, "is it true the Iron Walker was your husband?" She smiled gently. "He still is. In a way. Will he come back?" "I don't know," she said. "But wherever he is, he's doing what he was born to do." Far away, under a quiet Martian night, Rian stood beside a campfire. He looked at the stars. And for the first time in years, he smiled not with sadness but with peace. He had no home, but he had a mission, and it was only just beginning. 2 weeks had passed since Rian walked back into Colony 12. The people still remembered the moment clearly, the way he arrived without violence, the way he spoke with calm strength, and the way the colony had changed after that. Now, things were different. The oxygen hours were balanced. Extra work shifts were reduced. People spoke freely. The new council, made of ordinary workers and medics, handled decisions with care. They remembered what happened when power was given to only a few. Rian had left again. He said his work was not finished, but his presence still remained in their thoughts, in their actions, and in the changes they promised to protect. Rian now traveled across the open lands of Mars, helping the forgotten places, the small mining camps, broken water stations, and old farming domes. His name was passed from worker to worker. People called him many things: the Iron Walker, the Quiet One, the Man Who Returned. But to Rian, he was just himself. One night, while resting in an old desert shelter, he received a message from a distant colony. "Come quickly. Something big is happening." He arrived at Colony 6, deep in the southern crater, after 2 days. The gates opened when the guards saw him. A crowd was already waiting, men, women, children, all wearing dust-covered suits and anxious faces. An older woman stepped forward. "We've heard your message, we've seen the proof, but now others want to silence it." Rian stepped down from his suit and asked, "What others?" The woman handed him a screen. The footage showed a group of armed officers entering a small colony in the east. They took control of the local broadcast, shut down communication, and removed several workers who had shared Rian's original message about Daryl and the system of corruption. "They're calling you a danger," the woman said. "They say you're spreading lies and making people rebel." Rian looked at the ground for a moment. The truth scares those who hide behind false power. He turned to the crowd. "Show me everything. I will not let them silence this." Over the next few days, Rian gathered more information. He discovered that a group of corporate leaders from Earth, connected to Daryl, had sent agents to different parts of Mars. Their goal was to stop the spread of what Rian had started. They didn't use weapons first. They used fear, they told colonies that speaking up would bring punishment, that change would bring ruin, that peace could only come from control. But Rian had already shown Mars a different path, a path of truth. He decided to act. He and a group of brave workers traveled to a nearby signal tower. From there, they could reach the Mars Central Broadcast Satellite, a powerful link that connected all colonies together. If they could access it, they could send one message, one clear final truth. The journey was hard. Dust storms slowed them. Down drones scanned the skies, but they reached the tower safely. Inside, Rian connected the AI from his suit to the system. He stood before the camera. The signal went live. Across Mars, in mining halls, homes, rovers, farms, and school screens lit up. And Rian's face appeared. "I am not a soldier," he began. "I am not a leader. I am a man who was forgotten." He paused, his eyes calm. "Years ago, I was blamed for a crime I didn't commit. I was locked away, silenced, but I lived. And when I returned, I learned the truth was not only stolen from me, it was stolen from many." He showed images, data logs, maps of movements, the network of spies that had been moving through Mars. They tell you not to speak, not to hope. But hope is not dangerous. Truth is not rebellion, and silence is not peace. He leaned closer. "I walk alone not because I want to, but because I must, until no one else has to." The screen faded to black. Then the colony map returned, and every colony lit up with the same word: awake. Across Mars, things began to change. Workers held meetings. Old files were opened. Missing people were searched for again. In Colony 7, 3 wrongfully accused miners were freed. In Colony 9, the head officer stepped down after people voted against his rules. In Colony 4, a memorial was built to honor those who had been silenced, and everywhere, one question was asked: what else have we forgotten? Back in Colony 12, Mira sat near the new garden dome, listening to the message again. She held a small radio in her hands. Children played nearby. The sun was setting. She looked up at the stars. "He did it," she whispered. "He didn't just survive. He helped all of us rise." A young girl asked, "Is the Iron Walker real?" Myra smiled. "Yes, he's more real than most. Will he come back?" Mira paused. "Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but when someone needs him, he'll be there." And far away, near the edge of the Martian cliffs, Rian stood once more. He had watched the message go through. He had seen the change begin, but his heart was still quiet. He had helped the world remember its voice. Now he had to find his own again. He turned. Vox's metal partner, his silent witness. "Let's keep walking." And under the stars, he disappeared into the red wind once more. The red dust of Mars swirled gently around the small campfire. Rian sat beside it, his Vox suit resting nearby, silent and still under the Martian stars. It had been many months since his broadcast had awakened the colonies. Since then, things had slowly changed for the better. But his journey was far from over. Rian thought about the past, the betrayal, the loneliness, the long silence. Yet, more than pain, what stayed with him was hope. Hope that even after being forgotten, one could still rise. Hope that truth could heal wounds deeper than time. Back at Colony 12, Mira watched the stars from the rooftop garden. The colony was alive with new energy. People smiled again. Workers gathered openly to discuss their future. The new council worked hard to build trust and fairness. Mira felt a calm she hadn't known in years. She still wore the simple ring from her wedding finger. It reminded her of Rian, not just the man she loved, but the strength he carried inside. Sometimes late at night, she wondered where he was, what he was doing, and if he still thought of her. One evening, Mira received a message, a short signal sent through a private channel. It was from Rian. "I am still walking, but my heart is home. When the time is right, I will return." She smiled softly. "I will wait," she whispered. Far away, Rian stood on a cliff edge, overlooking a vast valley of red rocks and silver dust. The wind carried the scent of iron and freedom. His journey had taken him beyond the colonies, across hidden outposts and forgotten places where hope had almost died. With every step, he had found people who needed help. Those lost in lies, forgotten by the powerful, silenced by fear. He had given them a voice, a reason to stand. But the hardest voice to forgive was his own. Rian remembered the years he lost, months in a cold cell, watching Mira move on, seeing others doubt him. Yet, he understood that anger would never fix what was broken. "Forgiveness is a path," he said quietly to the stars. "Not just for others, but for myself." He placed his hand on the cold metal of Vox's arm. The machine had been his strength, his shield, and his companion. Together, we carry their stories. We carry the future. Back in Colony 6, news of the changes had spread fast. Communities began working together. The message of truth inspired a new hope. People built small memorials for those who were lost. They planted gardens in the red dust. They taught their children to ask questions, to seek answers, and to stand for justice. Mars was waking up. One day, a young woman named Lena arrived at the edge of the valley. She had heard the stories of the Iron Walker. She wanted to find him, not for battle, but for guidance. She found Rian sitting quietly beneath a stone. She approached slowly. "Are you really the Iron Walker?" she asked. Rian looked up, surprised but calm. "Yes," he said. "And you are?" "I am someone who wants to help," Lena said. "I believe in what you started." Rian smiled gently. Then, "We will walk together." They traveled back toward Colony 12, speaking softly about dreams, challenges, and hope. Rian shared what he had learned about trust and courage. Lena listened carefully, her eyes shining with determination. At the colony, Mira watched from the garden as the two figures approached, Rian in his worn suit and Lena beside him. She felt her heart stir. The man she loved had returned, not just in body but in spirit. Stronger, kinder, and ready to build a future together. Rian saw her and smiled. This time, the silence between them was warm, full of understanding. The colony gathered for a small celebration, not for one man, but for the new beginning they all shared. Rian spoke to the people. Every voice matters. Every truth counts. We are not just survivors, we are builders. Together, we will write the story of Mars not with fear, but with hope. Cheers rose. Children laughed. Workers hugged. Mira stepped forward and took Rian's hand. "Welcome home," she said. Under the Martian stars, the people of Colony 12 dreamed of a new tomorrow. A tomorrow where no one was forgotten, where justice was shared, and where hope was the strongest power. Rian looked up at the sky. His journey was no longer just his own. It was theirs. And together, they would rise. The Martian sky was filled with dust again, painting everything in shades of red and gold. In the middle of a forgotten canyon stood a tall metal figure, strong, silent, and watching. Rian stood inside the Vox suit, checking the systems. Power was now steady. The repairs he had made over the last month were holding. The arms moved smoothly, and the leg joints were faster. He had upgraded the speaker unit, added a new shield plate on the back, and fitted a long-range comm. He was ready, but this time his mission was different. He wasn't just protecting small colonies now. He was going back to Colony 12. A message had reached him through an old miner's radio 2 days ago. It was short, but serious. New man in charge. He is worse than the last, forcing people to work extra shifts, cutting oxygen hours, punishing anyone who asks questions. The message ended with a single word: help. Rian stared at the screen. After the message faded, he didn't move for a long time. "I left once, maybe too soon," he whispered. Now he had to return. Not for revenge, but for justice. The colony needed someone who wasn't afraid to speak the truth again. And this time he wouldn't just reveal the truth. He would stand for it. The journey back to Colony 12 took nearly 2 days. Rian traveled through deep canyons, across rough desert plains, and over old solar stations. His suit moved without error, the metal feet pressing into red dust with weight and purpose. On the second night, he stopped at an old comm tower. From the top, he could see the glow of the colony far away, its lights, small but clear against the Martian darkness. He sat by a rock and looked up at the stars. He remembered his first days there. The laughter with Mira, the joy of building something with his own hands, the betrayal, the cold silence. Now he was returning, not as a prisoner, not as a broken man, but as something more. He was the Iron Walker. By morning, the first alarm went off in Colony 12. A large object had entered outer perimeter range. Guards checked the camera feed. At first, they didn't believe what they saw. A tall, armored suit shining in sunlight, walking calmly toward the gate. Someone whispered, "It's him." Another guard asked, "Should we stop him?" But no one moved. No one wanted to be the one to face the man who had exposed their last leader. Instead, they watched. And so Rian walked through the gate without a single shot fired. Inside the colony, people gathered near the central square. Children peeked from behind parents. Workers dropped tools and stared. Even the head officers came outside, unsure of what to do. Then the speakers came on. Rian's voice, deep and clear, filled the air. "I did not come here to fight. I came because you asked. You said things had gone wrong again. I believe you." He paused, I once gave this colony my heart, my hands, and my time. In return, I was thrown into the dark. But I survived. I rose again, not for myself, but for all of you." The crowd listened silently. "I don't want power. I don't want a title. I want you to have your voice back. And if anyone tries to take it again, I will return." The crowd slowly started clapping, then cheering. It began small, but within minutes, the entire square filled with sound. Hands in the air, voices raised. They weren't cheering just for Rian. They were cheering for truth. Governor Kale, the new man in charge, stood in the watchtower, frowning. He had come to Colony 12 only 1 month ago. He thought the people would be easy to control, just like his last post on Luna Base. But now this Iron Walker had returned. He ordered 2 guards to follow him to the square. They came slowly, unsure. As they arrived, Rian turned toward them. "You must be Kale," he said through the suit. "I am," Kale replied. "And you are a man with no rank, no authority." "I don't need a rank," Rian answered. "People follow me because I speak the truth." "What do you speak?" Kale's face turned red. "You can't just walk in here and challenge my command." "I don't need to challenge it. The people already did." Kale looked around. The crowd was watching, waiting. He tried to shout something more, but before he could, one of his own guards stepped in front of him. "Governor Kale," the guard said, "you are being removed from command under Emergency Code 7. The people have the right to vote on leadership when there is public unrest." Kale stared in disbelief. You're turning on me?" "No," the guard replied. "I'm listening to them." By the end of the day, Kale had been taken to the holding center for investigation. A new council was formed made of workers, engineers, and medics. People were allowed to speak, to ask, to suggest. And for the first time in a long time, they were heard. Mira found Rian near the greenhouse dome that evening. He stood in silence, his helmet off, looking at the plants swaying in the filtered wind. "You came back," she said. "Yes," he replied, "because it was time." "I saw what you did today," Mira said softly. "You didn't break anything. You didn't yell. You just stood." "Sometimes standing is enough," Rian said. She smiled a little. "You always believed in quiet strength." Rian turned to her. "How are you?" "Better now," she said. "There's hope again." "And I'm trying to find mine too." Rian nodded. "That's all we can do." As the stars appeared above them, Mira asked, "Will you stay?" Rian looked toward the hills. "Not yet. Others may still need help. I've become more than just one man now. I carry stories of many. I must keep walking." She didn't argue. Instead, she stepped closer and placed her hand on his. "When you're ready, I'll be here." Rian held her hand gently. "I know." And then, as quietly as he had come, Rian walked back toward the gates, his suit shining. In the moonlight, his shadow long behind him, the Iron Walker had risen. And now, the galaxy would know his name. 2 years had passed since Rian was taken away. Mars Colony 12 continued its life under the soft hum of solar panels and the quiet rhythm of red windstorms. Most people had forgotten about the engineer who once walked its halls, except for a few, and even they had started to move on. Mira still worked in the medical unit. She moved from room to room, helping patients with small injuries, giving medicine, checking health reports. But her smile had changed. It was softer now, slower like a candle almost out of flame. At first, she visited the colony office every week, asking about Rian's case. She filed requests, asked for a recheck of the evidence, begged the higher officers to look again. They always gave the same answer: case closed, all evidence verified, no appeal allowed. Slowly, Mira stopped asking. Then one day, a new officer arrived at Colony 12. His name was Daryl. He was tall, always polite, and wore the black uniform of Earth Security Division. His job was to protect the colony from internal threat spies, hackers, smugglers. He introduced himself to everyone with a calm voice and a friendly nod. "Just here to help," he would say. He started spending more time around Mira at first. It was small, short talks at lunch, a hello during shift change, a shared ride in the rover. Then, after some weeks, he brought her a small gift, a music chip from Earth. It played soft piano sounds, peaceful and slow. Mira didn't accept it. At first, "I'm still married," she said. "I know," Daryl replied. "It's just music for your peace." Weeks passed. They spent more time together. Meanwhile, deep below the ground, Rian was watching. The old prison AI had given him access to the colony's forgotten observation feed. The images were blurry and sound didn't come through clearly. But he could see enough. He watched Mira walk with Daryl. He watched her laugh again for the first time in months. At first he felt pain, a deep ache inside his chest. But he didn't get angry, he didn't yell. He just sat still in the dim light of his cell. "I was gone," he whispered. "Too long." He turned away from the screen and focused on his project. The hidden machine he was building now looked more like a suit, tall, strong, made of bent metal and wires. It had a strong core, a helmet with an old mining light, and arms powered by reworked servos. The frame still needed legs, and it couldn't move yet, but it was taking shape. He called it Vox, meaning voice, because one day it would speak for him. Rian no longer watched Mira every day. He used the feed to study Daryl. Something felt wrong. The officer had appeared out of nowhere. His file was short, too clean. He carried a special cum badge not used by other staff. And more importantly, he had full clearance. Rian checked the access records on the feed system. Every time Daryl entered the tech vault, the logs were wiped within 10 minutes. Only someone high-level could do that. That's when Rian understood. He's the one who framed me. Back on the surface, Mira sat by her bed, holding the old photo of her and Rian. The picture was taken on their second Mars anniversary in front of the colony garden. Rian was smiling in the background, half shy, half happy. Mira touched his face on the screen. She closed her eyes and whispered, "If you're still out there, I'm sorry." But silence was her only answer. Below, Rian worked harder. He used wires from the air vent, metal parts from the food tray, and even small bits from his bed frame. The mech suit was now almost complete. It had legs, arms, and an energy core strong enough for 10 minutes of movement. He had tested it once, lifting the heavy bench in his cell with one hand. It worked. Still, he wasn't ready. Not yet. Needed more proof. He set a trap. Using the prison AI, Rian sent a false signal to the colony's cum tower. A small ping, pretending to be an old device waking up from a freeze. The signal went to the tech vault. He waited. Daryl arrived within 10 minutes. On the feed, Rian watched him enter the vault again. He carried a small black case. Inside it, Rian saw something shocking: data drives marked with Earth codes. They were being copied. Rian took screenshots through the AI system, storing them in a hidden file. Then Daryl looked up, straight at the camera. Rian froze. Did he see him? No, the camera was old, hidden behind a panel. Daryl had only looked at the sensor light. Still, it was a close call. Rian saved the images and backed up the logs. Now he had proof, but he couldn't send it. Not yet. If he tried to upload the file from the prison system, the AI would be detected and the whole system would shut down. He needed to escape, but not with anger. Not with violence. With purpose. That night, Mira went for a walk alone. She didn't talk to Daryl. She didn't go to the garden or the medical unit. She just walked along the colony wall, under the Martian stars. She felt something strange in the air. A quiet tension, like the ground itself was holding its breath. She didn't know that, far below, in the deep tunnels of Isolation Sector 7, A machine was powering up for the first time. Rian stood beside the mech suit, now complete. His hand rested on the core switch. He whispered, "You took my name, my freedom, my voice. I'm taking it back." The machine hummed to life, and far above, the stars remained silent. For now.